It's 7. We're probably gonna wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody else chime in. Then we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, one more second here. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. You there from, with me, brother L? All right, shalom, Yahbashim, Yahshua, Barakatah to all the brothers, shalom, Yahweh, Shamar, Iladah, Bashim, Yahshua to all the sisters. Today we're going to break out a class of reincarnation. Because, you know what I mean, a lot of times, you know, when we come to the truth, people, Yahbashim, Yahshua, Barakatah, who just chimed in?
Shalom, Shanae.
All right, Shanae, is this you there? You got your, anybody else with you?
It's just me tonight.
All right.
Tonight.
All right, yeah, no sweat. All right, just place your phone on mute. You got any questions? You know, just take it off mute. Say Salakia. We go ahead and get you in there. Uh, today our topic gonna be on reincarnation because a lot of times, you know, what I mean, when you come to the truth, you don't know that reincarnation is real. You know, and it is a real thing. Christ taught reincarnation all throughout the Bible when he was teaching. This is a real thing. So we're gonna bring out the scriptures proving that reincarnation is real today. So, you know, get your pen, your notepad, and you can write these down for your reincarnation scripture breakdown. So you'll be able to know that this is a real thing. So we're going to start off with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, which I know a lot of us are familiar with. But even in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, we don't realize that it also speaks about reincarnation in that verse, if you really look at it. So just pull Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. We're going to start with that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Right. So it's saying that, you know, based off of our sins that we committed against the Most High, we was going to be sold into slavery by bond to our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. Now, with this verse, the people that sinned, was they the ones that were sold into slavery? Anybody want to answer that question? Because this was during the time of Moses. But when we actually go into slavery, it's during, you know what I mean, what, the 1400s or something we went to slavery, 400 years ago we went to slavery? So that wouldn't have been around the time of Moses. So, you know what I mean? Is it saying that the same people who sinned is the ones that went into slavery? Anybody want to take a shot at that question? If you think about it, like they sinned, right? They the ones that sinned. People would say it's our ancestors, right? So then, if our ancestors sinned, did they go into slavery during that time, or would they be dead by the time that slavery, happened?
Lucky.
Go ahead.
Our ancestors were gone by the time the slavery happened.
Right.
So yeah, we're paying for what our ancestors the sins they did.
Right. Now, that's correct, but also if you really look at it, you know what I mean, it shows that in this Bible it's reincarnation, because if you're not a part of it, like we are a nation, right? But if you're not a part of it, if you're not a part of these sins that happen, like maybe you not were the one to sin, but the people that was with you sinned during that time. If you're not a part of it, then why would you need to have gone to slavery if you didn't do nothing yourself? You understand? So in this verse, it's actually showing reincarnation. It's showing that we are the ones that's paying for it because we are the ones that did it. You understand? Like we can say our ancestors, but you know what I mean? That's showing in this verse that how reincarnation is actually real. It's a cycle. You know what I mean? You live, you die, and then you come back. So that's why when it says in this verse that you shall go into slavery for bondmen and bondwomen, it is talking to them. It didn't say your children shall go into to slavery. It's saying you shall go into slavery. So in a sense, that's talking about us. Like you said, we died back then, but for us to go into slavery at the times that we're in now, that shows that we actually were the ones during that time as well, and we're paying for the sins that our people committed during those times. But at the same time, that is us. You understand? In this verse, like a lot of people read this verse to show that they're Israelite, but they don't see that even in this verse, it's talking about reincarnation. So I just wanted to bring that verse out, because I know that's a verse that a lot of us, read over and we understand and we know that's probably one of the verses that bring us into the truth. But I just wanted to bring that out because in that verse it also even shows that reincarnation is a real thing. You understand? Because that's why I say sometimes in the Bible that you'll pay. We're gonna get into I'm not gonna bring it out now. We're gonna get into that later. But we're gonna go into our next scripture, which is Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. We're gonna start at 1 and we're gonna walk down Ecclesiastes chapter 1. So pull to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, because this is the one that is a heavy hitter that shows that reincarnation is real. You'll see the cycle and things and how everything works, and everything is the same. Like when the Most High created this earth, He created everything the same. Ain't nothing different. You understand? So the way He created it, you understand by just looking at nature of how reincarnation is actually a real thing. It don't make sense for you to die and then never come back. You understand? So you got that for me, Ecclesiastes chapter 1?
Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 from the top. The words of the preacher and the words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem.
Right, so this is Solomon. Keep going.
Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity.
So he's saying all is vain. Keep going, verse 3.
What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun?
Meaning, if we don't come back, why are we doing this work for the Most High? If we can't, take in the profit of it, if we can't receive the reward for doing what we're doing. Like you coming into the truth, you teach this truth. What profit have you if you do all this labor, you do all this work, but you can't receive the reward for it? You understand? That's how you know that reincarnation. That's one way how you know reincarnation is real. Because how would you receive the reward for it after you die? Keep going.
Verse 4. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever.
Right. So one generation passeth away, and another cometh, and the earth is forever. So keep going.
The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and passeth to his place where he arose.
Right. So the sun goes down, and it comes back, and it hasteth. This is talking about a cycle. You understand? Every day the sun come up, and the sun is out, then it goes down, and then the next day it hasteth to get back in its place. It's starting to show you a cycle of things, of how things work. There ain't no new sun that comes. It's the same sun that goes down and it comes back. Keep going. Right. So it's still talking about the cycle. It's going into even more of the cycle. The wind comes, and then when it comes about, it goes. It turns around and it goes the other way. The wind don't go off the face of the earth and then return. You know what I mean? It comes one way and then it returns. So it's like the wind is being recycled. Y'all about Shimmy Al Shah Brakatah who just chimed in. All right, brother Dante. Just place your phone on mute. Got any questions? Say, Salakia, we go ahead and get you in here. We talking about reincarnation today. We had Ecclesiastes chapter 1, we just read verse 6. So the wind goes toward the south and then it turneth again to the north, meaning that the wind is being recycled. The wind don't, blow away and then now we have new wind come. It's the same wind. New wind is not being made and nothing new is being made. You understand? This is why it's talking about the cycle. It's talking about the cycle of the earth to let you know that there is nothing new being made. You understand? It's going to get even deeper into it as we read on. So let's go to verse 7.
Verse 7. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full, until the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again.
Right. So all the waters go into the sea, but the sea, all the rivers go into the sea, but the sea is not overfull. That's because when it meets the sea, when a river meets the sea, the waters turn back and go up the rivers. They don't go into the sea and then new water is being brought into the rivers. You understand? It goes to the sea and then it turns around. Same thing for the sea. The sea will meet it at the river, but instead of going through the river and having new water replenish the sea, it turns around and go back into the sea. It's getting even more into that cycle. You understand? No new water is being created. The water comes and meet at the border, the river to the sea, and then it turns around and go back into itself to replenish it itself. That's why nothing is ever over full. You understand? If you have all these rivers going to the sea, wouldn't eventually, if something is new made, wouldn't eventually the sea be overfilled? But the sea never be overfilled because the waters go back to replenish the rivers and the waters go back to replenish the sea. Instead, it's going back, it's going even into more of showing you how even nature recycles itself. Even nature, is reincarnated in a sense. Keep going.
All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing.
Right. So, we see these things, like for instance, we see a tree and a tree will die in the winter. Like right now, you go outside, the tree will be dead. No leaves on it. But as soon as spring comes, it's born again. You're right. It gets life again. So we'll see all these things. We'll see how a tree works, to where it's not no new. Like unless you plant it, it's not no new tree. These same trees are dying, but then they're coming back to life in the seasons. There's a time period for it. But so we'll see this, but our eyes ain't satisfied with seeing this. You understand? We don't recognize this as a sense of reincarnation. We don't see this. You know what I mean? Because we be ignorant to the truth. Keep going.
Verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done.
Now, anybody, hold on, stop right there. Do anybody know what that thing is? It says that thing, the thing that hath been is that which shall be. What is that thing? If in particular, if you could give me a verse for it, that would be exactly what I'm looking for. But what is that thing that hath been? No sweat. We're gonna find out what that thing that is that hath been. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 10. Oh, go ahead.
Man.
Yeah, that is correct. You got the verse for that? You got the precept for that?
I know it's Ecclesiastes is say it is named already and it's man.
Right.
Something like that.
Right, that's exactly correct. We about to get the verse, but that brother is exactly correct, man. That's exactly correct. That thing that have been, that is that which shall be, is man. But we're gonna put a precept so we can have the precept for it. But you are correct. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 10. We're gonna find out what that thing has been. Ecclesiastes, hold this and then go to Ecclesiastes 6, verse 10, because we're gonna come back to that. You got
Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 10. That which hath been in its that which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man.
right. So that thing, hold on, start with this. So that just like it said right there, that thing that which have been, what it's talking about in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9, that thing has already been named and it is known that that is man. You understand? So when we read in this verse, that thing is man. That's a man. So go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9, and we're going to read that from the top again.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, and that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
Right. So whatever you was in your previous life is what you're going to be now. You understand? That which have been, if you've been this way in your previous life, you're going to be that way in your current life. You understand? It said that which have done, what you've done in your old life is what you're going to do in this life. You understand? And we know that that thing is a man. So you know what I mean? You'll be reincarnated. You'll come back on earth and you'll live the same life that you lived. That's how we know. That's why Christian pastors exist. You understand? That's why these other groups exist. These other Israelite groups exist. Is because they once was a Sadducee and a Pharisee, and they being reborn, just like how we are in this truth. We once told the truth and it was prophets of the Most High. So now we're going to be doing that again in our next life in I.S.U.P.K. You understand? And read that last part. Read that last part again after it said that.
Ecclesiastes 1 and 9.
Yeah, the last part of it.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
And there is no new thing under the sun, meaning that when you die, you come back. There ain't no new souls created. There ain't no new nothing created. It's already been here. You understand? There's no new thing under the sun. So when you have a child, you can't be like, I mean, your child to you is new, but you can't be like, oh, this is a new soul. Like, no, it's a soul that already been here that's being reincarnated into the world. Y'all Bashim Yahshua Brakatah, who just chimed in?
Y'all Bashim Yahshua Brakatah. This is Thomas.
All right, Brother Thomas, I just place the phone on mute. We're going over reincarnation today. If you got any questions or comments, or you know what I mean, you want to answer a question, just say Salaki, take the phone on mute, and we'll go ahead and get you in here. All right. So, you know what I mean? That's what it says. It says, that which have been, which we know that thing which have been is man, is what shall be. That what is done, it shall be done. And there's no new thing under the sun. I mean, there's no new people that's just being created that never been here. You understand? This is reincarnation. This is a hardcore reincarnation scripture because we found that thing was man. You understand? So go to verse 11 for me. Oh, verse 10, Salaki.
Ecclesiastes 6 and 10.
Oh, no, 1 and Salaki. It'll be 1 and 10. 1 and 10.
1 and 10. Ecclesiastes 1 and 10. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time, which was before us.
Right. So you understand? Is there anything that can be said? You have a new son. You have a new child. Is there can be said this is new? No. It is. It says this is what has been already of old time. You understand? It's not something new. It's just somebody being reincarnated into the earth. You understand? That's what it's saying right there. It literally it just justified or it just reiterated what I just said. You understand? You have a son. Is there anything that can be said? This is new. This is something that never have been here before. No, it is that which have been already of old time, which was before us. Meaning, you know what I mean? Its previous life was before you was even born. You know, possibly. You know what I'm saying? So keep going. We're gonna get into verse 11. And it's gonna even reiterate even more of what we're saying, that we know that this is man being reborn. Read verse 11.
Verse 11. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after.
Now, before I say break this down, this is Solomon. So we understand that Solomon was the wisest person to ever live. So this is coming from Solomon. You understand? And he says, there is no remembrance of the former things, and there's no remembrance of the things that shall come after. Meaning you're not going to remember your old life. You understand? That's why you might not believe reincarnation is real, because you can't remember your old life. But it says right here that you're not going to remember your old life, and nor is you going to remember your future life. You understand? That's why I say there's no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. You understand? This is where this is proving that it is man that we're talking about, and reincarnation is a real thing. You understand? You will be reincarnated. You understand? You will, and the thing, the reason of why you're gonna be reincarnated, which we're gonna get into later, is to based off of the life that you live, be judged on the life that you live. In order to be judged, you don't go to heaven and hell. You be reborn back in a certain condition. You understand? On earth to serve out the judgments that you did, to serve out, the sins or the goodness that you did on earth, which we're going to get to in later scriptures. But it just shows it right there through Ecclesiastes 1 through 11. That thing that has been is with that which shall be, which is a man. And you're not going to have a remembrance of your old life. You understand? You're not going to have a remembrance, because if you think about it, it says that which have done is that which you shall do, right? So if that's the case, you're going to always be, what you was. If you was a liar in the past, you're going to be a liar now. You understand? And the reason why you don't remember is because you will remember that you were this way, and you will want to change it probably. You understand? So that's why you're not going to remember, because you're going to always be what you were from the beginning. You understand? Just like that's why we in this school right now. That's why we in these classes right now, because we always been with the Most High. You understand? Saying that, I'm paraphrasing to say, my flock hear my voice and they come. You understand? That's when we hear the Most High, when we heard this truth, we came to this truth. That's because we always understood Christ. We always was with Christ. You understand? So we're gonna go to Psalms 104 verse 29. We're gonna go to Psalms 104 verse 29 to even prove even more of how, you understand, there is nothing new under the sun. You will be reincarnated. So let's pull Psalms 104, chapter 104, verse 29.
Psalms 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die, and return to their dust.
Right, stop right there. So it's saying that thou hidest thy face. That means that's the Most High hiding his face from you. When the Most High hides his face from you, chances are you're on the verge of dying. That's what happens. The Most High hides his face. He's not seeing you. He's not watching over you. Death can come your way. You understand? Read that from the top again.
Verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die, and return to their dust.
Right. So once he hides his face, you are troubled, meaning that death is coming upon you. You know what I mean? That's why I say thou takest away their breath, meaning now you die. You're dead. They die and you return to dust. But is that it? We're gonna read on, but because atheists are like to believe that, oh, you coming to dust and all this other bacteria. I don't know what they believe, you understand? But they believe you coming to dust and that's just it. You understand? But we're going to see what it says in verse 30. Read verse 30.
Thou sendest forth thy spirit, they are created, and thou renewest the face of the earth.
Did you just hear that? You die, you become dust, but your spirit go back to the Most High. You understand? Thou sendest forth thy spirit, so your spirit goes back to the Most High. Then after he gets your spirit, you go through your judgment, and then you are created. And like it says, they are created, and thou renewest the face of the earth. Meaning now you repopulate the face of the earth. You renew the face of the earth. After you die, your body will go to dust, your spirit will go to the Most High, you'll be created another body, and you're going to renew the face of the earth. That's showing that reincarnation is a real thing. You don't die and go become an angel and live in heaven, or you don't die and be going to hell with a red man with a pitchfork picking you to death. You understand? Torturing you or whatever they like to make you. That's a scare tactic. The white man made up hell to scare you, Because if you think in your mind, well, I gotta love everybody, God loves everybody, then if you don't love the white man, now you think in your mind you're gonna go to hell and be in hell in all eternity because you didn't show the white man some love. You understand? That's a white man tactic. Hell and heaven don't exist, man. That's a condition. Heaven and hell is a condition. You understand? Right now, we living through hell. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are living through hell. It don't get no worse than this. You understand? It ain't no going to hell and being tortured for all eternity. And no, that's a bunch of nonsense, man. It's a bunch of mythological nonsense. You understand? They say you die, your body go to dust, and your spirit go to the Most High, and you renew the face of the earth. You understand? So with that, we're gonna go to Christ's teachings. We're gonna go a little bit into what Christ taught because Christ taught reincarnation. So let's go to Acts 23, verse 8. Acts chapter 23, verse 8. Because Christ, you know what I mean? A lot of Christians, they might not believe in the Old Testament, but they believe in the New Testament. But all throughout the New Testament, Christ taught reincarnation. So if Christ taught reincarnation, how can we sit here and say that's not real? You understand? And then like when you try to tell somebody reincarnation is real, they start to think of like a Hindu, like you come back as a roach or you know what I mean, some crazy stuff, nonsense like that. That don't make no sense. You know what I mean? They just went off on it. But reincarnation is a real thing. You know what I mean? And you will come back to what you was. So if you were from the tribe of Judah, from the tribe of Manasseh, you're gonna come back from that as being that same tribe from Judah. Tribe. If you was a man, you're gonna come back being a man from the same tribe. You're gonna come back being a woman from the same tribe. You're not gonna change. You know, what I mean, you're not gonna come back as a white man, or a white man is not gonna come back as an Israelite. You understand? You're gonna pay for what you do in your previous lives, and if you did good, then you're gonna be rewarded for what you did in your previous lives. You're gonna come back as the same thing you was. You're just gonna have a different body, same spirit, different body. And we're gonna go into Christ's teachings, and we're gonna go a little bit more to prove that this is also true, along with the scriptures that we just went to. So you got that for me? You got Acts 23, verse 8.
Acts 23, verse 8. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit. But the Pharisees confess both.
Right. So the Sadducees believe that there was no resurrection. So if you have a group at this time that believe that resurrection or reincarnation is not real, then that means that reincarnation had to have been taught during this time. Because it tell you that the Pharisees did believe it. You understand? So that means at this time when the Sadducees and Pharisees was running, reincarnation was something that was known. People either didn't believe it or people did believe it, even during these times. You understand? And that shows you that Christ taught it. So we're going to get into a story where the Sadducees tried to come up to Christ and trick Christ and try to get him to stumble with reincarnation because we know Christ taught it. So with that story, we're going to go to Matthew 22 and 23. We're going to get the story of how the Sadducees try to, come up to Christ and ask him a trick question to get him to slip up because, the Sadducees and the Pharisees wanted to kill Christ. Just like how when we go out there on the street, when I.S.U.P.K out here doing what we're supposed to do, people come against us because they want us killed, man. They want us to just go away. They want us to disappear. But through the grace of the Most High, through the Spirit of the Most High, through the strength of the Most High, we're not going to do that, man. We're going to wake up these people. We're going to bring these people into the truth, and we're going to rebuild this kingdom. We're going to rebuild this nation. You understand? So we're going to get the story of how the Sadducees try to come up to Christ and to get him killed and trick him up with a trick question. But he, Christ so smart, he understood what the spirit they was coming in, so he just cut them. You understand? So go ahead. You got that for me?
Matthew 22:23. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him.
Right. So the same day the Sadducees came to Christ and said there is no resurrection. So why would they come to Christ and say there's no resurrection if Christ never taught resurrection? If Christ never taught reincarnation? You understand? Why would they ask him a question if he never taught it? They would just agree with him and they would be on one accord because they didn't believe in resurrection or reincarnation themselves. So then when a Christian tell you that, oh no, you go to heaven and become an angel, it's a bunch of nonsense. It shows that they don't actually read the Bible. You understand? Because the Christ that they believe in, that's in the New Testament, taught reincarnation. So keep going.
24, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother.
Right. So now in the law of Moses, back in Leviticus, it was said that if a man has a wife and then he dies and he don't have a son, he don't have no children, then his brother shall take his wife. You understand, and have a child with her, and name him after his brother, so his seed can live on, so his name can live on. You know what I mean? A lot of people that read that verse in Leviticus and they'll be like, "Oh, what kind of God will?" You know what I mean? Because we seen an episode of it or example of it during Judah's sons. You know what I mean? So they'll read this and they'll think something, carnal, very carnal, not understanding this is brotherhood. Because if you die, that's where we get juniors from, if you think about it. Like, that's why you will name your son after your father. Because you understand that it's your father's spirit. That's why you would name your son after your father. You understand? But that's always been a custom of us. So say right here, as it said in Leviticus, if a man were to die and he had a wife and he didn't have a child, then his brother would take her. And then once his brother take her, he would go ahead and have a son with her, or a child, have a son with her, and he would name him after the brother that died. So his seed, so his name can live on. You understand? Keep going.
25. Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother.
Right. So the first brother died. The first brother had this. They're trying to trick Christ. So they coming up with this, hypothesis, this hypothetical situation, and they're saying, well, the first brother died, and he didn't have no son. So it will go to the second brother. Keep going.
Likewise, the second also, and the third, unto the seventh.
Right. So from the second to the third, and then unto the seventh, meaning that the first one died, didn't have a son. The second one died, didn't have a son. The third one died, didn't have a son. Fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, seventh one died, and none of them had a son. So that's why she was passed all throughout the brothers, because they never had a son. So they're trying to come up with this hypothetical situation, which you understand when you're talking to somebody in the world and you breaking down scripture down to them. That's what they try to do. Shalom, Yabashim, Yashab, Brakatah. Who just chimed in? All right, Brother Kevin, I just put your phone on mute. And if you got any questions or comments or, answer, just say Salakia, take it off mute, say Salakia, and we go ahead and get you in. Right now, we're talking about reincarnation.
Okay.
All right. So, you know what I mean? So, go ahead.
Salakia, sir, I have a question. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5, would that be a precept for the,
You said 25 verse 5? Let's pull Deuteronomy. Yeah, let's pull Deuteronomy 25 verse 5. Okay, you saying this would this be a precept for what we trying to precept this with?
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, this would be the precept. Read, if you could pull that for me. Hold where you at, Brother L, and go down to Deuteronomy chapter 25 verse 5.
Sir. Deuteronomy 25, verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. Right.
You understand? That's a perfect precept to this. That is a perfect precept. That is a great job. That's a Tawab job, sister, for finding that precept. This is a perfect precept to this verse. You understand? When a brother died, he has no child. He should not give her to a stranger, right? She should not go into another random person, but into the brother. You understand? They go into the brother because the brother is of the same seed. You understand? The brother is of the same family. So that's why she would go into the brother so the brother can have a child and then name the son after him. You understand? Not to a stranger. So that is a perfect precept to what we're talking about right now. That is the precept to what the Sadducees was trying to refer to according to the law to try to trick Christ. You understand? That's a great precept. That's a great job, sister. So we're gonna go back to Matthew with the story. You understand? We back to Matthew chapter 22, where at this point we don't establish that 7 brothers had had this woman. None of them had a son. She went to all of them. So we're gonna try to prove the point. We're gonna get at what they was trying to get at when they asked Christ this question. So go to what's the verse that we left off on?
27.
All right, read verse 27.
Matthew 22:27. And last of all, the women died also.
Right, and last of all, the woman died also. So after these 7 brothers died, and once she went to the 7 brothers, because none of them had a child, just like how we read in where we were just at, Deuteronomy 25:5. All of them died. None of them had a son. So then they get to the woman, and she dies too. So not only did the 7 brothers die, now the woman died as well. So keep going.
28. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her.
Right. So it's saying who. So after all of them died, right? Read that one more time for me.
28. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7?
Right.
For all they.
Go ahead. No, keep going, Salaki.
For they all had her.
Right. So therefore, in the resurrection, so they like, okay, you teaching resurrection. So we just gave you this hypothetical situation. So all of them died, and they all had her. So in the resurrection, who wife is she gonna be? Who is she gonna go to? If all 7 of the brothers are resurrected, and she is resurrected because they all died, and you believe in this, then who is gonna be the one to be married to her? Like, which brother is she gonna go to? So they try to trick Christ with this question, and we're gonna see Christ's response. Keep going.
29. Yahanna answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Yahweh.
Right. So he's pretty much he's preparing to cut them. He said, "You do error. You do error. There's an error into your thought because you don't know the power of the Most High. You don't even understand the Most High. You a Sadducee. You don't believe in him. You understand? Like that's what we believe. That's what we think about when we talk about these Christian pastors. You understand? Even other Israelite groups. Like you don't know what you worshiping. You don't understand the power of the Most High. You think that you can read these scriptures and get your own understanding. You understand? You can't get no understanding of these scriptures without the I.S.U.P.K. All these other groups get their understanding from these scriptures from the I.S.U.P.K. That's a guarantee. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 30. For in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Yahweh in heaven.
Right. So when they are resurrected as a baby. So you sitting here asking who is going to be the one to marry her, and we just read in Ecclesiastes you have no remembrance of your former life, nor of your future life. So you don't even know that you was married to these people in your past life. So when you were born again, you were born as a child, man. You're born as a baby. You're not. There's no arranged marriage. There's no something like, oh, I'm gonna make sure you marry this person. And you don't. People don't know that. People don't know their former lives. You understand? So it's telling you do err. Because when you're born again, you're born as a child, man. You're not born as no grown ass adult. You know what I mean? And now y'all all adults again, born again. And y'all, you know what I mean? You're born as a child. You're born as a baby. You grow your life. You meet whoever you meet. You understand? That's what they're saying. That's what he's saying to them. You understand? That they don't even understand reincarnation so bad that they thinking that you're gonna be reborn again as a full adult. No, you have a cycle, man. You go through a cycle. You're gonna be born as a child. You're gonna be born as a baby. Then you're gonna go to a toddler, to a child, teenager, so on and so forth. Keep going.
unto you by Yahweh, saying,
Keep going.
I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living.
And that is so powerful. Anybody want to try to take a shot at that breakdown right there? That is probably, this is going to be hard. I'll be impressed if you'll be able to say this breakdown. But what does he mean by, have you not heard that he is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not the dead, but of the living? This is a hard one. I'm not going to lie. This is a hard one right here. I'll be impressed. I'll be. Go ahead.
When he speaks of being the God of the living and not the dead, is he talking about the ones that are in the truth?
That's not quite it. I thought this is what's gonna be a hard one. That's not quite it. You gotta think about, in this one you want to think about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said he's the God of them. He's of the God of living, but not the dead. So in your mind, where is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Like, they lived their life so long ago, they have to be dead right now, right? So why would he use them to say the God of the living and not the dead? Because I had two people say Salakia. Who was the second one? I'm gonna try to get another brother. Who's that?
Oh, Brother Thomas.
Brother Thomas. Yeah, I'm gonna give Brother Thomas a shot. Go ahead.
Because I mean, those people are still back on the earth. Their spirit is back on the earth as we speak.
Right. That's exactly right, man. That's exactly correct, man. That made me happy that you was able to get that. You understand? That's exactly correct. Because those three is not dead, man. They're living. You understand? That's why I say that he's the God of them and not of the dead. Because you, in your mind, you would think, okay, well, they're dead, so what is he talking about? Because reincarnation is real, man. You understand? You gotta understand that reincarnation wasn't real. Why are we worshiping this? Why are we coming together to worship the Most High? Why are we coming together to build up our nation if reincarnation isn't real? Because Abraham and Isaac and them, according to someone in the world that's carnally thinking, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is dead. Okay, cool, that was their God, but they end up dying. So why would I worship a God if I'm just gonna end up dying and I'm dead and that's it? Like, why don't I just live my best life if I'm just gonna die and that's it? Like, what does it matter then? Like, I'm not gonna be punished or I'm not gonna be rewarded for what I do. Let me just live the best life I can on this earth and enjoy everything that I can, and then just die. You understand? That's what it's saying. He's not the God of the dead, man. He's God of the living, man. He's showing you that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are reincarnated. They were reincarnated. They are here now. All the priests and prophets that you read in the Bible, they are here now. They still exist. You understand? That's what it's saying. And I see the comments you said on Facebook that they live through us. That's not quite what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Brother Thomas said, they actually are us. You understand? Like, we don't know our former lives. Just like it said in Ecclesiastes in chapter 1. We don't know our former life. So we don't know who we could have been. You understand? You don't know who you could have been. You know who you are, who you were. You understand? You don't know this. But you know that they are reincarnated. They are here somewhere. You understand? All the prophets are here somewhere. Paul, John, Matthew, all of them are here somewhere. You understand? Reincarnation is a real thing. And it's showing it right here. He's telling them straight up. He's cold cutting these Sadducees like y'all don't even understand what y'all talking about. Y'all don't understand this Bible. It's like when we talk to a Christian pastor. You saying God love everybody, you don't even understand what you're talking about, but you don't even understand these scriptures. Only the I.S.U.P.K and the Commanding General Yahanna understand these scriptures. You understand? That's the only way that's the only place you're going to be in to understand the truth and to be in the truth and understand the scriptures. You leave I.S.U.P.K, you are not in the truth. You understand? And we the only group that says this because we the only ones that can bring out this truth. And that was a great answer, Brother Thomas. That's a great answer. That's exactly what it was talking about. Now we're going to go into 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12. We're going to further prove how even Christ's life and what he taught shows us that reincarnation is a real thing. You understand? Reincarnation is a real thing. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12 to prove this. Go ahead. You got it? You got it. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians 15:12. Now if Yahanna be preached that he rose from the dead, now if Christ be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead?
Right. So how can you sit here and say reincarnation, resurrection don't exist, but Christ rose from the dead, man? Christ died, and did he not rise from his death? You understand? And according to a Christian, you die, you go to heaven. You die, and you go to hell. So how did Christ die and not go to heaven nor hell, but was resurrected? Came back to life. You understand? That's what he's saying right here. If Christ preached, if now we know that Christ be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some of you among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? You understand? You worship Christ, and Christ himself came back from the dead. But yet you don't believe that that exists. You believe you die, you're just an angel now, and nobody will never know you, and rest in peace. Rest in heaven. Rest in, you know what I mean? Wherever you going to rest at, just rest, and you never going to come back again. That's your life. You in heaven now. You in hell now. That don't make no sense, man. Because Christ died himself, and we all supposed to be followers of Christ, right? So if he came back, why don't we think that we going to come back? You understand? That's why I.S.U.P.K teach no cowards, man. Because we're going to die in this truth, and you know what? We're going to be reborn back into this truth, man. That's why we're not scared of death. That's why we would do what we got to do to defend this truth. We the only ones that on this earth defending this truth, and it's I.S.U.P.K. That's why it's so important. Even if you're a young man coming in and taking classes, it's so important to defend this truth. Because without you, the people that came in just like you came in, we wouldn't have no truth. That's why we're the ones that we're going to hold on to this truth and defend this truth, man. And it's showing that if Christ did it, why can't we do it? If we follow him. Keep going. Go ahead.
When you bring that out, the thing that comes to my mind is that when Christ died, he came back in the same body, and also Lazarus. So I'm not sure how I would combat that or tell somebody when they ask me that question, how come they didn't come back in the same or a different body? How come they came back in the same body?
Well, Lazarus, you talking about when Lazarus was resurrected from the dead? All right, so when Lazarus was resurrected, hold on. I'm going to go into the Christ one, as a matter of fact, because the Christ one is more important. I'm going to the Christ one. They said when Christ came back, he had the regular body. So we know the story of like when Christ died, he came back. He seen Mary. Mary was the first person that he seen. And he was in the same body that he was. But then I forgot the chapter. I'll probably have to get back to you on it, but I'm paraphrasing right now. When when he was resurrected, he did have the same body that he had. He had the holes in his body. That's why when he came to the apostles, when he came to the disciples, they asked to see his scars to see if it was really him. But we know, I think it's in Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm gonna have to do more research on it. But then we see the story of where Christ was in a new body, where he was taller than everybody, and he was putting crowns on people's head. So it's like, yeah, when he first came back, he had that old body, but then he ended up getting a new body. He ended up actually getting a new body to where he was putting crowns on people's head, and he was taller than everybody else. I forgot what that verse is, so I'm gonna get that verse. And I got your number, Brother Thomas. I'm going to get back to you on that to give you the exact breakdown on that. So I don't want to say anything wrong. But I do know that, paraphrasing, he eventually was actually given a new body to where he was taller than everybody. And they said they seen a man giving crowns upon the people's head. The 144,000, the elect, he was the one crowning them. And he wasn't in that same body during that time. You understand? He wasn't in that same body at that time. That was a new body that he actually was given. You understand? So I'm like I said, I'm gonna give you some more. I'm gonna give you like the exact breakdown on that. But you know what I mean? I'm just let me remind me. Send me a text, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask the captains above me, the men above me, and I'm gonna give you the exact breakdown on that. Okay? All right. So you know what I'm saying? We was back at verse 15, verse 12. Read verse 13.
Verse 13. But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then is Christ not risen?
Right. So if resurrection is not real, if the dead don't be resurrected, then did Christ not rise? You understand? And keep going.
And if Christ be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith is also vain.
Right. So if Christ didn't come back from the dead, and just like Brother Thomas said, you know what I mean? He came back in a regular body, but I'm gonna get more detail on it. But he came, but also he actually was given a new body to where he was taller than everybody else, and he was the one crowning people, which is a different body that he was given, which is the body that he's gonna come back to, you know what I mean, to give us salvation. You understand? If that's not true, then are we not preaching in vain? Are we not preaching for nothing? Is what we preach does it not mean anything? You understand? Like, why are we doing this then if we don't be reincarnated? You understand? So with that, we're gonna go into examples of this. We're gonna show examples of Christ that he experienced and throughout the Bible and the New Testament. For all the new, the Christians that don't believe in the Old Testament, we're gonna go into the New Testament to where it even proves that reincarnation is real. So we're going to go into John chapter 1, verse 19. John chapter 1, verse 19.
John chapter 1, verse 19. And this is the record of John, when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who art thou?
Right. So these people that sent them, I believe they was what was they? I know it's either the Sadducees or the Pharisees. I'm not sure. Salaki on that. I know it was the Sadducees or the Pharisees that sent him. It just slipped my mind. But men sent men into John to ask him who he were. You know what I mean? They sent. I think it was the Pharisees. They wanted to require of John of who he was. It was Jews that wanted to require of John of who he was, because John the Baptist was the ones that was prophesying for Christ to come. He said, "His shoes I cannot fill, and he is greater than I am. He will baptize you with fire." But we know John was baptizing with water. So they sent it to him to see who he was. Keep going.
Verse 20. And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Christ.
Right. So he said to them, "I am not Christ. Christ is for to come, and his shoes I cannot fill." Keep going.
And they asked him, what then? Art thou Elias?
Now Elias, hold on, stop right there. Elias, this was the New Testament was written in Greek. You understand? Because that's where we was in captivity of Greek, so it was written in Greek. But Elias is Greek for Elijah. So they asked him, "Are you Elijah, the prophet Elijah, who we know exists way before John?" But they're asking him, "Are you Elijah?" Why would they be asking John, "Is he Elijah?" Because they knew reincarnation was real. Understand? But they're asking him, "Are you Elijah?" Keep going.
And he said, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, no.
Right. So they asked him, "Is he Elijah? Is he Elias? Is he Elijah?" And he said, "No." Now, is he Elijah? Anybody want to answer that question? Is John the Baptist Elijah? Anybody want to take a shot? Because he said he's not. And is he? Are we going to go to Matthew 17, verse 10? We're going to go to Matthew 17, verse 10 to see. Matthew chapter 17, verse 10. Because go ahead.
17, verse 10. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come?
So the disciples was talking to Christ, and they said, why did the scribes, why did the ones, the previous prophets say that Elias was the one to come first? Like he was supposed to come before you. Keep going.
And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things.
Right. So you are correct. Elijah will come before me to restore all things. Keep going.
But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they live and thought, and have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them.
Right. So he said to them, but Elias already came. So Christ is here, and he said Elias is already here, though. You understand? Like Elijah, he was a prophet that already exists before. But they're saying he is to come again, showing you reincarnation is real. And so he said Elias already had come. You understand? Keep going.
13. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist.
Is John the Baptist Elijah? Go ahead. It is, right? So that's what Christ said. Christ's response was Elijah is to come, but he's already here. And he said until verse 13, once he said this to the disciples, the disciples understood that he was talking about John the Baptist. John the Baptist was Elijah, showing you that reincarnation is real. Christ said out of his mouth that Elijah was supposed to come before him, and that he said also that it was John the Baptist. Showing you that how is he John the Baptist, but he Elijah, if reincarnation is not real. Because his spirit is the spirit of Elijah. You understand? So he's telling the disciples right here, right now, that Elijah was reincarnated to John the Baptist. And he's already here. So that was the answer to the question. John the Baptist is Elijah. He was Elijah. But he didn't, but anybody want to answer why John the Baptist didn't know that he was Elijah? Now I already see on Facebook, Eric, you are correct. That is actually true. But anybody else want to take a shot of why John the Baptist that's on the line right now, that why John the Baptist didn't know he was Elijah, or why he said no to that? Go ahead.
Is it because he have no remembrance of the former things?
Right, that is exactly correct. Just like we read to Ecclesiastes, you have no remembrance of your former life, nor of the things to come. So that's why he said no, because he didn't know that he was John. He didn't know he was Elijah. You understand? That's why I say that in Ecclesiastes. You don't remember your former life. But Christ knew. You understand? Christ knew that was him. And then once he taught the disciples knew. And just like now I'm teaching you, you know. You understand? But he didn't know himself because he didn't have a remembrance of his former life. He didn't know the life that he lived. And that's why I say that in Ecclesiastes. Showing you that reincarnation is real. You understand? Once again. With that, we're going to go into, and then we're going to prove of how, the problem when the disciples came to Christ, they said that, Elijah was to come first. We're going to prove that because Elijah was the first to come. John the Baptist did do what he was supposed to do. He baptized them, but then he said somebody greater than me is going to come to baptize you through fire. So we're going to prove that with Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Just real quick, we're going to go into Malachi chapter 4, verse 5, just to prove that what he said was correct. Elijah was to come before Christ.
Sir. Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right. So he's saying right here, the prophet of Elijah will come for the great and the dreadful day of the Lord. You understand? Of Christ returning, Elijah would have come first. That's just to go back into the Old Testament to prove that they wasn't wrong for what they were saying. Elijah was to come before Christ, but then Christ told him that Elijah was already here, and he was here before me. You understand? Because John the Baptist was the last to prophesy about the coming of Christ. After that, everybody just taught the truth. They didn't prophesy anymore. They just taught the truth. So John Baptist was the last one. He said that he was already here. You understand? So I just wanted to pull that verse to show that. Now we're going to go into Matthew verse 16, Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. We're going to show how even Christ asked the disciples of who he was, showing another verse to show reincarnation is real, because Christ asked them who did people think that he was. You understand? So if reincarnation is not real, why would he ask that question? Because they know him of Yahushua. So if they know him of Yahushua, then why wouldn't they just say you're Yahushua? You know what I mean? Why don't they just say his name? But he asked the disciples of did they know who he was. So we're going to show that he asked that in Matthew chapter 16, verse 13.
Matthew 16:13. When Yahushua came into the coast of Caesarea in Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?
Right, so he asked the disciples, who is the men, who is everybody around about us saying who I am? Keep going.
And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist.
Right, some say that, stop right there. Some say that he's John the Baptist. Why would he be, you know what I mean? Why would he be John the Baptist? Keep going.
Some say, Elijah.
Some say Elijah.
And others.
Keep going.
And others, Jeremiah.
Some Jeremiah. Keep going.
Or one of the prophets.
Right, so they're saying that you have to be one of the prophets of old. That's what they're saying. If he had to be one of the prophets of old, isn't not the prophets of old dead? Did not Jeremiah, Elijah die? So how can he be them? Because they knew that reincarnation was a real thing. That's why they said that. Like if you're thinking carnally, if you're thinking from the world, how can he be Jeremiah? How can he be Elijah if they already dead? But that's what the people were saying who he was. Because the people at that time knew reincarnation was a real thing. So that's why they asking him that. You understand? Now, well, I'm gonna stop right there, but for for time's sake, they end up realizing, he asked them, well, who do you think that I am? And they said that he's Christ. But you understand, the other people thought he was Elijah, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets, one of the old prophets. You understand? So he told them, you understand, that he was Christ. They understand he was Christ, but people wouldn't think that he was Jeremiah or Elijah if reincarnation wasn't a real thing. So they understood that reincarnation was a real thing. So with that, we're going to go into second Esdras, because a lot of times it's hard to believe that reincarnation is a real thing, because we have a mindset of thinking that after we die, we go to heaven and hell, and heaven and hell exists. When we lived through the world, we was in the world, we might have been Christians. It was taught to us that once you die, you either go to heaven or hell. So that's a hard time that we have thinking, because we think once you be judged, that's where you go. So we're going to debunk that and prove that, you understand, reincarnation is real through the fact that when you die, judgment takes place here on earth. You don't go in hell, you don't go to heaven in this fictitious place, but you go, you be reborn, and you're born into a certain condition. So we're going to go to second Esdras in the Apocrypha. Pull out your Apocrypha. Second Esdras chapter 14, verse 34. Second Esdras chapter 14, verse 34. Oh, Salakia. Give me 1 second here.
There are 6 other participants in this conference. Please announce yourself.
Salakia. My phone actually hung up through the service. Salakia. I actually got disconnected for a second, but like I said, it was the second Esdras chapter 13, verse Salakia, chapter 14, verse 34. You there, Brother L?
Sorry. Second Ezra, chapter 14, verse 34. Therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your heart, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy.
Right. So to understand this, you have to subdue your own understanding. You understand? You have to subdue your own understanding. It's not what you think or what you can see. You understand? Because what you might see might not be the truth. You understand? You only being carnal when you thinking about, oh, it's what I think. You have to subdue that understanding that you have and hear the words and hear the truth and understand what is true. You understand? Read it from the top again.
Therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy.
Right. So once you subdue your understanding and reform your hearts, change yourself, you shall be kept alive, and after death you shall obtain mercy. Meaning after you die, you will get mercy. Keep going.
For after death shall be for after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again.
Right. Stop right there. Stop right there. Hold on. Stop right there. After death shall come the judgment. Now hold that in your apocrypha and go to Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27. I just want to use a precept for this. Just want to bring up a precept for this. So hold that in your Bible and then go to Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27.
Hebrews 9 and 27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment.
Right. So it's appointed for a time for men to die, and after that is the judgment. Just like it say in in second Esdras. You understand? It's a point that you're going to die, but after death you shall receive the judgment. Just like it say in Hebrews. It's a precept to show that after you die you will receive a judgment. But we're going to go into it farther to find out where that judgment is that you're going to receive. Where is that judgment taking place? You understand? Because a lot of people think it's in the clouds in heaven, and you're gonna get judged, and after you get judged, you're gonna go through the heaven gates, so you're gonna be sent to hell. We're gonna show where that judgment actually is. Go back to Second Esdras, chapter 14, verse 35.
For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again.
Right. So stop right there real quick. After the judgment, you actually will live again. You ain't gonna be going to heaven or hell and be burnt for eternity. No, you're gonna live again. Keep going.
And then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared.
Right. And after that, when you get judged, based off of the lifestyle that you come back, you're gonna see if you was an ungodly person due to you being in a bad condition, or if you was a righteous person being reborn into a great position and being born into, pretty much rewarded for the life that you live. You're either gonna be rewarded good things, or you're gonna be put in a bad condition based off of the life that you live. You understand? That's when you're gonna know the works of the righteous and the ungodly. Because when you were born again, the condition you in is gonna show what you did in your past life. You understand? Now we're gonna get proof on this. We're gonna get proof that the judgment takes place on earth. You understand? Just like it said, you'll live again, and then you shall know the righteous and the ungodly. We're gonna get even more proof to show that you understand the judgment is what's actually gonna take place on earth, man. It's gonna be in your reborn when you reincarnate and you come back to earth. We're gonna prove that based off of your status, it's gonna show of what you did, of what type of person you were. You understand? So we're gonna go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Because like I said, a lot of Christians will have you thinking that heaven and hell is this, and you're going to go to hell and heaven. And it's crazy because even when Christians think this, and no matter what somebody have done in their life, They always say rest in peace, as if they go into heaven. I know you in heaven. It could be the most vile, nastiest person that ever lived. Murdered people, robbed people all his life and didn't change. Just murdered, robbed, pedophile, homosexual, all this. And they'll say, rest in peace. You in heaven. You understand? How you can be the wickedest person on earth, but somehow you in heaven. You understand? That's just a fictitious belief. That just makes them feel better. That don't even make sense. No, they're gonna be reborn again and they're gonna suffer through what they did, or they're gonna be rewarded for what they did in their next life. You understand? So we're gonna go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. You got that?
Sir. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And Yahweh required that which is past.
Right. So it's that which have been is now, that which have already been, and God required, Yahweh required that which is past, meaning the things that you do in your past, He will require it from you. You understand? He will judge you based off of what you've done in your past. You understand? Keep going.
And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment.
Right. Hold on, stop right there. What's under the sun? He said, moreover, I saw the place of judgment under the sun. Under the sun, he saw the place of judgment. What is under the sun? Anybody want to answer that? What is under the sun? Go ahead. Earth. Exactly. He saw under the sun, which we know we look up in the sky during daytime, we see the sun. What's under it? Earth. He didn't see in hell, in heaven, you know what I mean? He saw under the sun, which is earth, the place of judgment. The place of judgment that he saw was under the sun. That means that was here on earth that he saw the place of judgment, of where you will be judged. You understand? Keep going.
And the place of righteousness, that wickedness was there. In the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there.
Right. So he saw under the sun that wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness, because people was doing right, the iniquity was there. So he saw the sins based off of people's life. He saw the righteousness that people was living based off of their previous life. That's where the place of judgment is, under the sun. It's on earth. You understand? You're not going to die and then, you understand, be in some fictitious place or something that you become an angel, how you want to think. You understand? Just like these white people. The white people that died, they're going to be reborn. They're going to be born back into slavery. They're going to be born back to be servants of ours. They're going to live out their time that they supposed to serve for what they did, man. They don't die and just go to hell and be, you know what I mean, tortured. Or no, they're going to serve their time. They're going to pay for what they did. The only way you're going to pay for what you did is being reborn again and being reborn a servant. You understand? This is showing you that the place of judgment is not in some clouds where God is sitting on the throne and you sitting in line waiting to go through the gate for your turn. No, the judgment place is going to be here on earth. You understand? That's why we brought out this verse to prove that judgment place is here on earth. You understand? We're going to bring out one or two more. We're going to bring out probably three more verses that we're going to wrap this class up. Because we're going to show you of how even the disciples understood reincarnation was real, and how the judgment, how they asked Christ a question based off of this judgment to see what was it in reincarnation. And then we're going to talk about the blind man. If anybody know about it, it's going John chapter 9, verse 1. John chapter 9, verse 1. We're going to get an example of this, of what we just said, to show you that judgment happens here on earth. You understand? And the disciples knew that. Christ knew that. This was a known thing that judgment happens here on earth.
John chapter 9, verse 1. And Yahushua passed by. He saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents?
Right.
So he was born blind.
Right. So there was a man that was born blind, and the disciples asked Christ, Who did sin? His mom or him? So if he just was born blind from birth, how could he have sinned if he was just born? Meaning that they're talking about his past life, man. They're talking about if he sinned in his previous life. Is that the reason of why he was born blind? Because he was wicked in his previous life? That's what they're asking Christ. You understand? You will be repaid. You will pay for what you do in your life. You understand? Whatever you do, if you're doing wickedness, you might be born blind. That's why they ask this question. Did this man sin in his past life? How could, if he just was born, how could he sin in his past? Like, how could he sin in this life that he's living now? How could he sin if he was just born? Meaning they're talking about his past life. They're talking about if he sinned in his past life, and that was the reason of why he suffered from blindness. Because, like I said, however you come out, whatever you know, what I mean, when you reborn this earth, you might be, you know, what I mean, you might be cursed or sin, and be punished for your sin that you committed in your previous life. This is a great example of that. You understand? But with that, we're about to close the class out. We're gonna get in like two more verses. We're gonna close this class out. We're gonna go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. We're gonna see the conclusion of the matter, the conclusion of this reincarnation breakdown of why you should live the best you can. You should be an I.S.U.P.K and become a prophet and serve the Most High the best you can, so you don't be cursed in your next life. So you don't come back and say, you know, be a blind man, just like we just read. Pull that for me, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. This will be the last verse we get into, then we're going to send up the prayers.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto Yahweh who gave it.
Right. So after you die, your body will turn to dust, and your spirit return to the Most High. So what's the conclusion? We're going to jump down to verse 13.
Verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Right. So the whole conclusion of this is to fear the Most High and keep the commandments, because this is the duty of the man. You understand? Do what the Most High tell you to do. You understand? Follow the I.S.U.P.K and the command during Yahanna. Serve the Most High. So you know what I mean? You will be rewarded for your labor that you put in. So you will receive the reward for your labor. You understand? Don't be out here in the world, be a Christian pastor under the Christian church, and just waiting for destruction. You understand? That is the conclusion of a man, to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Because this is the only thing that's going to get us out of the conditions that we're in as a people. It's the only thing that's going to get us to have salvation, to get Christ to come and get us out of this condition. You understand? That is the conclusion of a man. You understand? But with that, give me 1 second. I'm going to find these prayers and we're going to go ahead and send up these prayers. We're going to